So the state of Florida had its primary election this past Tuesday, and no surprise, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis was renominated to run for that office. He was running unopposed, but he still threw himself a little victory rally, and during his speech at said victory rally, he said this.
We will fight the woke in the businesses. We will fight the woke in government agencies. We will fight the woke in our schools. We will never, ever surrender to the woke agenda. Florida is the state where woke goes to die.
Again, no surprise there. Nothing we haven't heard from DeSantis and other Republicans countless times before in the past few years. But for some reason, hearing it that time, it really struck me how meaningless the term woke has become when people like Ron DeSantis use it. If you remember what the term woke actually means, or what it originally meant back when it first entered our shared cultural vocabulary several years ago, it meant just being aware of racism and inequality and injustice in society. Like, that's the way the term was used. And it was originally used by black folks. And then, like so many other things, it was appropriated and co-opted and corrupted by, And now, when conservatives use it, it means whatever they want their voters to be afraid of. That's what it means. It means nothing. They don't even use the word properly in that speech. DeSantis says, we're going to defeat woke. Florida is going to be where woke comes to die. It's not a noun, Ron. Woke is an adjective. You're describing something. It is a state of being. You're saying that a person is woke. Or if you must, a particular work is woke. It's not a noun. What is it with Republicans and being bad at grammar all of a sudden? They don't know what pronouns are. They don't know that woke is an adjective instead of a noun. And yet, these are the people that want to defund the Department of Education. These are the people that are mad at teachers. Maybe the reason they're so mad at teachers is because they're still resentful because they were such lousy students. I mean, they need the education more than anybody else, and they're the ones that are cutting the funding to it. And it's not just the language arts education that they need either. It's across the board where there are some pretty serious deficiencies, not only in conservative politicians, but clearly in the base as well. But it also got me thinking about how this moral panic that they have whipped up surrounding woke and wokeism, as some of them who do actually care about proper grammar sometimes call it, they do nounify it and say, well, it's wokeism. The moral panic that they have stirred up around it is just as content-free as the way they use the term themselves. Like, I think back on other moral panics that have happened in my lifetime, even ones that happened so long ago when I was so young that I don't really personally remember them, but they happened when I was a little kid, like the Satanic Panic. Like, that was horseshit. There was nothing to that. People were afraid of nothing. But at least with that one, if you accept the underlying claims that kicked off the panic, logically, there is something to be afraid of there. Like, if it turned out that there really were cults of Satanists abducting children for human sacrifices, like, yeah, we should be concerned about that. Turned out that wasn't happening, and it was just much ado about nothing, as all moral panics turn out to be. That's what makes them moral panics. But with the woke moral panic, even if you listen to the people who are stirring up the controversy and stirring up the outrage, and you take them at face value, what are we supposed to be afraid of? Like, it all seems to boil down to they don't want schools to teach things or art to contain themes or points of view, etc., or people to think and say things that hurt their feelings. I don't like when people talk about America that way. We shouldn't talk about America as being a racist country. I don't like that. That makes me feel bad. Or they shouldn't talk about systemic racism or racism throughout American history and the effect that it has had on non-white people and the privilege that it has given white people. I don't like that. That makes me feel bad for being a white person. I don't like that. That makes me feel bad. Like, is that it? That's the threat we're supposed to want to avoid? It makes us feel bad? I thought that Republicans didn't care about people's feelings. It reminds me of that phrase that I hear repeated often on social media that I think is a brilliant way of describing Republican philosophy and just where the Republican Party's head is at and has been for many, many years, which is that every Republican policy proposal is secretly a confession. Because they're proposing all of these laws and all of these measures to crack down on woke, whatever they think that means, because their feelings get hurt when we talk about the racism and the structural inequality and the systemic injustices in the United States, right? Historical and in the present day. It hurts their feelings. They don't like that. That makes them upset. So we need to crack down on that and stop doing that. But how do they talk about trans people? You know, when they talk about trans people and say, oh, what makes you a woman? Because you feel like one? Oh, what makes you a man? What? Because you feel like one? Well, your feelings aren't facts. So we're not supposed to care about trans people's feelings. And they pass laws in their state legislatures where they have majorities that completely disregard the identities of trans people, completely delegitimize and even further marginalize them than they already are, because they don't care about trans people's feelings. And it's not just their feelings they don't care about, because a lot of those same laws also make it difficult, if not impossible, for trans people to access medical care. So they don't care about trans people's feelings, and they also don't care about trans people's lives when it comes right down to it. They don't care about any of that. They don't want us to care about that. But they do want us to care about their feelings. Oh, their feelings get hurt when you talk about how racist America is. We don't like that. We don't like that. Stop making everything so woke. It makes us feel bad. Like, is that the threat? Seriously? That can't possibly be it. There's got to be something else behind it. And I mean, I think there is, but it's not what Ron DeSantis and his fellow Republicans usually talk about, at least not out in the open. I mean, let's go back to what the term woke originally meant, which was an awareness of the existence and the influence of racism and other forms of inequality and injustice in society. To be woke was to be aware of the existence of those problems and to recognize the effect that they have on people's lives. So when Ron DeSantis gives his victory speech and he says, we're going to defeat woke, we're going to make Florida the place where woke comes to die, and he goes on to say, we're going to make sure that Florida stays free. Well, what freedom do they have that they feel is threatened by woke, that they feel is threatened by people having an awareness of the existence of racism and systemic discrimination and injustice? What possible freedoms could they fear losing if society became too woke? I wonder. For some reason, the phrase states' rights just floated into my brain. I don't know. Wonder what that's about. Probably nothing.